All right, everyone. Are we ready? Today I'm talking about designing and managing cybersecurity competitions, which is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I'm Leah. Um, let's talk about who I am. I'm Leah. I'm a third year cybersecurity major. I was the ISTS competition architect this year. I was also the head of education. I do some other things here and there. And yeah, I guess my credentials to talk about cybersecurity competitions is that I have participated in these competitions on a variety of different levels, both as an organizer, as the black team, CCDC obviously is blue team, and on the red team in various competitions as well. So I know some things about competitions, I guess. Maybe I don't. I want to say that we have a couple talks from RITSEC from like 2 and 5 years ago about competitions that are very similar. So if you want to go take a look at those, they're pretty interesting. How to be a competition architect in Competition Masterclass Part 1. There is no Part 2. And then also, this third link, I'll post these slides by the way. Third link is from NIST about building cybersecurity competitions, which is the only resource I found about putting on competitions that are not CTFs. So this is a very interesting space where I think there could be more research in. And this fourth one, I honestly forgot what it was, but I looked at it and I thought it was interesting, so I put it in this slide. All right. Am I breathing into the mic too much? I'm trying. I'm really trying. There's no fuzzy thing on it. So, red versus blue competitions. First of all, why red versus blue? I didn't know, so I looked it up. It's because of the Cold War. The concept of red teaming and blue teaming emerged in the early 1960s, and an example of this, like an early example of red teaming, was involving the think tank Rand Corporation. This is like, I think I got this information from Wikipedia, so you can look it up, but they did simulations for the US military during the Cold War. So the red team and the color red were used to represent the Soviet Union, of course, and the blue team and the color blue were used to represent the United States. So good guys, bad guys kind of thing, you know? And another example was the US Secretary of Defense assembled a red team and a blue team to explore which government contractor would be awarded an experimental aircraft contract back in the day. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from. And now blue teams are representative of the defenders in competitions, right? And they're usually a team of about 4 to 8 students, depending on what competition you're looking at. So the 8 comes from CCDC, for example. In ISTS, we have 5 people on the team. And they're responsible for engaging in threat hunting, instant response, and system hardening because the red team are attacking them, right? We always say like the good phrase to talk about when you're talking about or describing blue versus red competitions is that you're under live attacks from a red team. So these are usually industry professionals who either red teamed during their time in college or do red team like professionally, and they do some cool stuff with that. And their job is to make the blue teams better. So the whole point of these competitions is to educate blue teamers in what, like, you know, getting familiar with operating systems, services, and what looks normal on a system and what might be a red team attack. Examples of competitions are the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition, Cyber Patriot, and Cyber Force, eCitadel, and ISTS. I'm not really going to describe them, but I will describe ISTS. I'm sorry, I lied. ISTS, because I'm the ISTS CA, this whole presentation is kind of based on, not kind of, it is based on my experiences running the competition and things that I learned and things that I observed. But the whole point is that you should be able to extrapolate the details from that into like how to run competitions in general and what things to consider, what are important for a cybersecurity competition that involves red versus blue. So, let's keep in mind, again, ISCS, we've been doing this as a club for 24 years, and it's technically a purple team competition. I don't like when people label it as a purely red versus blue competition because we have a lot of other things in it, like King of the Hill, CTF, our trademark game, and our store, all very fun additions to the competition that you don't see in many other competitions where you might, like, you know, red versus blue, like blue uptime is not going to be a majority of your score because it's about having fun and also learning, but having fun. And there's a link to the ICS website because I wrote everything on there and I'm just going to say the same stuff again. So there it is. So it's actually quite simple to run ISTS. You get elected, and then it happens. No, I'm just kidding. There's a little bit more. Hold on. Okay, so that was really slow. Uh, this is like off the dome. This is a pretty extensive list of what you need to do and what you need to think about as the competition architect. So let me think of a good way to do this because I won't be in the video if I walk towards the screen, but it's fine. So I'm in front of the screen now, guys. You get elected immediately. Immediately, you need to decide your dates. You know why? Because there's this thing called wig hacks, and Women in Computing has a hackathon, and unfortunately, it always conflicts with ISTS. And you can think about it. You can really try to avoid it. You have the illusion of choice when you pick your dates for ISTS, but it will conflict. It's the best time for ISTS, unfortunately. So you pick your dates, right? Then you reserve the rooms, and I guess I didn't put that, but you have to reserve the rooms immediately. Then you think of the theme. You maybe like talk to the past CAs, especially when it's fresh in the last CA's mind. You start thinking about your keynote speaker as soon as possible, and like this all kind of like just let it like sit there. Let yourself think about the theme, because everything will center around it, and you can't change your mind when it's too late. So you have to be very set in your theme. You have to see the vision of the competition and base all of your other actions on that. I'm not gonna read this whole thing honestly, but it is pretty cool to look at, and I had fun making this timeline. So just have it as a frame of reference. I think some of the lines are like not to scale, obviously, like between the time it takes to do these things. But it is basically in order. And yeah, and notice that your work does not end when the competition's over. There's a few things afterward, but we'll get to that later in the presentation. So all those things that we just looked at, I have split them into this framework that I call Leah's phases of competition planning, patent pending. I also couldn't really think of good names for them, but this like the idea is there, so I'll explain it. So first of all, the planning phase, arguably one of the most important ones because like I said, everything is foundationed, that's not a word, on that, right? So May, which is when you get elected in this position. Again, this is all gonna be kind of centered around ISTS, but you can change this timeline as you see fit for yourself. May through October. October because IRSEC happens in October. That's when you are all relaxed and you just get to have fun thinking about your competition, but you have to wait to start doing most of the things. But again, this is where you have to like make your own timeline for yourself. You have to, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I have slides on this, but basically think about your dates, think about the theme, most important things, and you'll have a great summer, really. That's all it's going to be. But as soon as IRSEC ends, also support IRSEC. As soon as IRSEC ends, it's time to lock in. You have to select your leads, ideally steal them from IRSEC unless they're graduating. Get the black teams together, meaning like if we go back really quickly, not really quickly, you'll put it somewhere on there. I have like put out black team signups, so have that open for a bit. Try to get as many people on your black team as you can. What else? And then you have to have the topology finished, ideally, by this lock-in phase, because then you hand it off to your black team, and that's when they start working on their stuff and base it all on the topology that you gave. In the third phase, the final countdown, this is when, in January, February, you have, like, the black team deploying, you've got people, like, finishing up, wrapping up their stuff, hopefully getting things green. You coordinate with red team increasingly, and just make sure all the teams are still coming to the competition. That's pretty important. Again, and also thinking about like the stuff that you have to think about later, like food, because you can't buy the food ahead of time, really, it'll go bad. And yeah, that's everything you need to do to prepare immediately prior to the competition to make sure it's a success. And then execute, the execute phase is when the competition itself happens, and then also shortly after, it's the moment you've been waiting for, it's go time, just like ideally, it should be only as stressful as any last minute issues that come up because you've taken care of everything else ahead of time. And then you just get to relax after. Let's talk budget. What budget? No, I'm just kidding. Alex Noble is not here, but he would not like that. Meet with the treasurers. You have to have a good relationship with your treasurers. You have to understand that you can't spend infinite money. And honestly, budget constraints are a big issue for most competitions. It's a thing that prevents you from doing a lot of really cool stuff sometimes. But we are very grateful that we have enough money to host ISTS every year, and especially I got extra sponsors this year that allowed me to do like extra little quality of life improvements to the competition. But I guess I just read my third slide ahead of time. If you have any competition-specific sponsors, try to get them in as soon as possible so you know you can actually use that money and not like project the money that's there and then never get it. But the most important thing is like know how much you're gonna spend, aim for a number, negotiate with the treasurer a little bit maybe. It's all for the benefit of your competition. So on the right here is the categories that I just copy pasted from my spreadsheet when I was planning the competition. So basically, food is a huge one. I would say the most important ones here are shirts, food. I put shirts twice for some reason. Shirts, food, and prizes. Because the people show up and you have to feed them. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm wearing my sweatshirt for ISTS. That's one of those quality of life improvements we're talking about. I got an audience member with an ISTS shirt. And yeah, so again, you have to feed the people. You have to feed your competitors. You have to feed your black team, white team, red team. It's a lot of people to feed. So you have to be able to afford that and also make it good food. But we'll get there. I have a slide on food. What else? Guys, what else is important? I forgot. I'm just kidding. Shirts. A big thing that we do at ISTS is we give all the participants shirts. So you'll see some really nice, like it's the logo. The logo goes on the shirt. Sorry, I keep coming back to the camera. Yeah, shirts are just like important. I don't know. You have to like take care of those, get them in ahead of time. And then the prizes, because sometimes you have to order them really far in advance, and maybe sometimes they come in the day after the competition, and you have to ship them to the team. That happened to me. So take care of the prizes. I promise it wasn't my fault. They were back ordered. And then other categories, for example, game. If the game involves physical things, which it has in the past few years. For example, our game was an escape room, so we had to buy some extra things to make it an escape room. So get that taken care of ahead of time so they have time to plan it. Goodies and decorations. Goodies includes things like stickers, the flags. In my competition, I had flight tags, which was really cool. Space blasters in my competition, for example, or like Nerf blasters in other ones. And then a really good category that I had was useful stuff. It was included walkie-talkies, which I loved, and they were really useful. But that's more of like an investment because we can reuse them now. We don't have to buy them year to year. But other stuff like costs for Linode and like our VoIP service, that's pretty useful, I'd say. And then I would say photographer is also extremely important because you kind of want to document that this happened. You want like the people to be posting about it and have nice pictures to remember it by. I think I got through all this. I put shirts twice, yeah. Competition oh, it's like shifted down. It's okay. Day 1, Friday. For ISTS, we got the alumni panel to take care to like think about. The competition kickoff presentation, keynote speech, networking time. Most competitions follow a similar framework where like they'll have the first day where you just get in there and like not do too much. You're not immediately competing. And then there will usually be 2 days of competition for multi-day or like weekend competitions. Same thing for us. Saturday, you're just competing all day. Sunday, you're competing for maybe half the day or a little bit less time. And then, you do like the black team debrief. I forgot to put that in the slide, but black team debrief, red team debrief, photos, prizes, wrap-up stuff, and then everyone goes home. But I actually forgot that I didn't shift it down. I just put day 0. And that's when you're like doing all the other stuff in preparation. And probably not sleeping too much, but that's okay. So, yeah. And day 1 also for us is like we give out the shirts, we reiterate the rules. It's like all the stuff that people need to know once they come in. And we handed out Inject Zero during the Friday event, so that was cool. Now, let's talk about the roles of the people involved because it really is about the people that are making it happen, not just the person running it. And I'm not gonna go in depth too much because I did present about Black Team in an education presentation last semester. But let's think about what Black Teamers should be. Really the most important thing is be teachable because this is again a student-run competition. So it's really about like, do you have like a figured-out mindset? Are you passionate about making this competition happen? Are you interested in whatever team you're on? Let's say it's like Linux. I hope you like Linux if you're on the Linux team, that kind of thing. And Also, things to think about as an organizer is like, how many freshmen do you want on your black team? Some people in the past have done like a freshman program. I forget what they call it, but it was like having a certain number, at least one freshman on each black team, so that there would be a better training pipeline for people that have like experienced the competition more times on the black team. Also, just how many people do you want per team? I don't think you need 10 people on Windows, unless Windows is being really difficult. But usually you want the larger ones to be like CTF and Koth, because it's really just like people sitting there and grinding out challenges or Koth boxes. So you don't want to overload just like 3 people with having to do having to write all the CTF challenges. But then other ones, they usually range from like, I don't know, 3 to 6 people is a good estimate. 6 is, again, a larger black team. And when I say black team, kind of confusing because I'm talking about like the sub-teams of black team. Overall, my black team was about 60 people. I think last year it was more than that. It was like 70 or 80. The year before, again, it was around 60 to 80. I don't remember anymore. But when you split that among the teams, it comes out to about 3 to 5 people per team. And that, I think, is the good spot for like a focused team that is able to, like, the lead is able to delegate them actual tasks. And then when you think about like who you're actually placing on the teams, we've got like the black team interest form where people talk about what they're interested in for the black team. But you have to work with your leads to actually place people onto the team. So like if they know the person, if they don't know the person, or if they know they have certain strengths, whatever it is, we want to balance out the black team, and we work with the leads to do that. For white team, again, the white team are volunteers for day of. Again, just the basic things to think about is like how many people do you want? Because white team, people might not show up, they might not feel good on the day of, or whatever it is, something might come up. So we try to get more people than we need, but honestly, let the white team lead handle most of this. And then red team, also, just let red team do their thing. The most important thing for the CA is to coordinate with the red team chief. They're the GOATs, and they're really good at what they do. So honestly, just like what we do for them is provide infrastructure support as needed, meaning like creating jump boxes for them or doing reverts for like testing things. And that's about it. They're the GOATs. I keep breathing into the mic, I'm sorry. I can't help it. Leads, GOATs, also GOATs, I guess. Everyone's the GOAT. Whoever helps with the competition, you're the GOAT. I already said this, take leads from previous competitions. If not, ask the previous lead who they would recommend from the team. It's usually like a little bit of like, you need a couple competition experience to get to a lead position in a competition. I guess if you're starting from scratch, then, I don't know, get people you trust. And then, yeah, some must-haves that I think a lead should be is having strong technical and problem-solving skills, kind of, again, like a characteristic of anyone on black team. Be able to tell the CA exactly what's going on at any given time and present problems with enough detail, because you're not just, the ISTS CA, any CA, they can't be like micromanaging and just like ever present in every single team. So you have to be able to report what's going on with your team like week to week. That kind of involves like delegation and being able to teach your team members and just like having a strong grip on what your team is doing. So yeah, I don't know, I just like sat down and wrote these bullet points out. It's just like being a good leader and being trustworthy and responsible. Now, also I forgot to mention, in the top right, I've tried to like correlate the number of the phase that I talked about to what I'm talking about on the slide. Because again, I sat down to like make this presentation, and I just started making slides with the titles, and then I went back in. So, trying to make this make sense, The theme and the logo. First of all, consider creating a mood board, which is like a bunch of pictures that describe what your theme is, and also more importantly, keywords. So, my keywords, again, my theme was space conquest, and one of my keywords was no aliens, because I don't know, that's why, I don't know. But also I had like other things like industrial or something like that, because I was like, okay, it's like realistic space, but not Star Wars, but it's a little bit Star Wars, because I like Star Wars. But essentially, keywords, you have to be able to describe, first of all, to like the people making your logo, and also the people involved in like writing injects or writing the lore, because it has to be cohesive, and theme is actually a very important part of these competitions, because in my opinion, it makes things more fun. It reminds you that this is not like a life or death situation. Nothing's gonna happen to you or anyone if your service stays red. So like, you need to be able to enjoy it. You need to like appreciate the theme as a competitor, and also like also as like a white team or a black teamer, like if things are not going well, it's okay. It's okay. We're having fun. I forgot where I was going with that. But identify the roles of the blue, red, black, and white team is very important because I put this off for a bit, and then I was like cramming the packet during one of the deploys, and I just had to sit down and write the lore for the packet, and it actually took a while because we think of like very specific names to call, like the black team, the blue team, whatever it is. So in mine, black team was the Intergalactic Union, the red team were the Space Pirates, stuff like that. You want it to be cohesive because this is, again, referenced in Inject, is referenced throughout the infrastructure, which I'll get to. But a pro tip for thinking of a theme, for example, is think of what a good game would be, which is how I think I came up with the Bank Heist theme for last year. I was just thinking about like what a good game would be, and then I went from there. But also, other things to think about is like what the blue team and the red team are, because I didn't think about that, and then the blue team ended up being the bank robbers, and the red team were the cops. But don't think about that too hard. Don't think about it too hard. So yeah, theme is fun, and then I've got a bunch of the old logos on this slide. Once it pops up, because it takes forever. There we go. Yeah, we have really awesome logos, and we get all of them from Miscreants, which is a sponsor of the club. It's founded by alum of the club. And yeah, I've got like my logo up there. I've got a few logos dating back. These are all ISTS logos. Sorry, IRSec. But these are really cool, and they can range from things like simple like line art or whatever you call this, like a little more logo-esque, to more of like a full photo, like the 2025 and the 2022 ones, or even the 2021 one. And they're all really awesome, and they look really good on flags and shirts and stuff. So this is like also a huge part of the theme and thinking of the theme. Sorry, I'm losing my grip on the mic. Okay. So yeah, I think they're really cool. Yo, I gotta stop breathing into the mic, dude. I don't know how I'm doing that. Okay. Now, another thing to think about is, do you want a qualifier? This is something that we started doing last year in ICS 2025. Not sure what the reason was there, but my reason to continue doing that is because we had so many people fill out the interest form, and I really wanted to, I didn't want to say no to any of them. And like, part of your job is, we'll get to this again, inviting the schools and figure out which ones to accept into the competition. And it's really hard to say no to a lot of these schools because it's like, why am I, like, I don't want to say no. So as a result, qualifiers is a way for everyone to get involved into ISTS, even if they're not able to come to RIT physically for ISTS proper. And first of all, when you want to host a qualifier, you have to understand, does your team have enough bandwidth? So the team that will be running qualifiers is most likely going to be just like the residual people from the IRSec Black team. And so, yeah, IRSec, you know, after you're done with the competition, you're pretty tired and you're pretty like burnt out from doing all that stuff for weeks and months on end. So just make sure that your people can actually take care of doing this. But it's worth it. So let's keep doing qualifiers, guys, please. How many schools filled out the competition interest form? So like I was saying, my biggest reason for continuing to do a qualifier round was because we could give many more people just like hands-on opportunities, as well as our internal IRSec teams, because I took the top 3 teams into qualifiers. I just wanted them to get more blue team experience, and why not do it through quals? And then also, the only problem with doing a qualifier is like, the more competitions you host, the more likely you're gonna be with conflicting with other competitions. And so I think our quals this year conflicted with Mid-Atlantic CCDC's quals. So unfortunately, I think a team couldn't come for that reason. But yeah, I mean, don't worry about that part too much, because the more important thing about like choosing your date for your actual competition and your qualifier is that it works for you. So like, ours is usually, our ISTS is held around the week of spring career fair. It was actually the week of spring career fair this year, which falls in late February, like the very last days of February, and possibly March, depending on the calendar. And the qualifier is in January, shortly after our winter break. So that's just what works for us. Now, operating systems and topology, also extremely, extremely important. They should be relevant, usable, newish, and fun. Meaning, relevant, it's like, yeah, you can have Node OS as your weird OS, but like, who's gonna use that after the competition? That's like, I'm calling myself out, so it's okay. Solaris, I thought it was cool to include that in my competition because you might still see it in the real world in legacy systems. And you might, like, we don't learn Solaris in school, so where else are you going to learn that? Unless you have a lot of free time, I guess, and you choose to spend that free time on Solaris. But it also kind of like fit the theme, you know, like sun, solar, space conquest. I'm breathing into the mic. Windows 11. We finally got Windows 11 and Windows Server 2025 into the competition because guess what? They're used in the real world. You shouldn't be using Windows 10 anymore. So it's cool to include Windows 10 and even older versions of Windows, but it gets hard to work with them. And also, it's just like, it's relevant. It's relevant. People need to learn from these competitions. And the biggest thing, if like they can talk about being able to take away skills of like, I know how to defend Windows 11, that's like really good for jobs, I believe. I don't know. Who knows? And then, what else? Good old Ubuntu. Yeah, like just have like regular things to mix in. The really important thing here is like, I was able to think back to when I blue team and I thought about like, what would I enjoy as a topology? And you really like, it's hard to balance the amount of like novel and interesting and quirky operating systems and also just like layouts of the topology. If you have like crazy stuff behind a load balancer, it's like really hard to figure that out as a competitor. So it's like you can have multiple iterations of your topology and just think about like, what would you enjoy in a competition, which will differ from person to person, but I think it helps to put yourself in the competitor's shoes when you do this. And like, don't be afraid to get feedback from other people about it, but don't listen to all feedback because it's your competition and your ideas. Let's talk about host names and users again. Super important, kind of relates to topology. So the one thing that they have in common is that they should be easy to type, very important, and also themed. Again, coming back to the theme, you want it to be very cohesive, especially with ISTS. It's very important because we have so many different aspects of it, so many different parts, or even like competitions within the competition. I'm talking about CTF, Koth game, whatever. You want the overarching theme to connect them all and for it to make sense. And so like host names, that was big. I was pretty proud of my host names. I brainstormed them for a while and I ended up with like, the LAN was like stuff on your planet, and then the cloud was stuff in your orbit or like your satellite or whatever it was. So that was pretty cool, and that speaks to the bullet point about like connected to the network type. Very fun. Ariana did this in the past IRSec also. Hers was time travel themed, and like the host names were events in history, and so like the LAN ones were land based, and then the cloud ones were like air based. So you know, it was cool. Not multi-word if you can, or just like connect the words. No, don't like hyphenate things. Don't like put underscores. It also messes with like the OS hostname stuff. So make it simple, which like will limit you a little bit, but it's okay. And also, it's cool if they're connected to the service. I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know. In one of my CDT competitions, one of the host names was Pigeon Tower, and then I put postfix in it because like pigeons and mail kind of makes sense, you know. And then for users, the users kind of similar to the idea of like host names being connected to the service. Users should be connected to like their purpose. So again, let me think of an example. If you have like the captain, I think I had the captain user, like the admiral or something like kind of space themed. They were probably an admin because it kind of makes sense, you know. And it's cool to make some pop culture references. Like I think in both me and Ariana's competitions, we threw in some like, I think she had like characters who time traveled as her users, and I had Luke and Leia as users, because Star Wars. Prizes. Wow, this is a really slow. Yo, is it frozen? Okay. Prizes. Look at all these cool prizes. These are the prizes from my ISTS. And just like, again, thinking about, I think I mentioned buy them ahead of time. Buy them very, very, very ahead of time. Because part of the Hack 5 field kit was on back order for a long time. But I was really happy with these prizes. It took me a while to think of them as well. And again, keep in mind your budget constraint, but these are very important because it's what the winners win. So you have to make them cool. My approach was just like getting cool stuff that I thought people would actually use and appreciate, but they wouldn't buy for themselves. So I don't know. I think the third place team, which is CCDC, I think I got good feedback from them about making it like a little kit of like the blue team field manual, the Raspberry Pi kit, lock picks, maybe. Yeah, there was like a few things. So that was something fun. And then second place got a keyboard and cool keycaps that were space themed. So I thought that was fun. And then first place got the field kit. So again, it's like I would like any of these prizes. So it was a lot of personal preference, but also keyboards are a very common prize. I don't remember what else we've done in the past. And then you can, I guess, look at other CTFs that do prizes because most other cyber defense competitions, the prize is just like getting first. So yeah, sponsors. This is a big one, especially for ISTS because the TS stands for talent search, meaning the sponsors are searching for talent. First of all, give your sponsors plenty of time to RSVP. This is very big because, yeah, I don't know if you know, but like having a full-time job is kind of like a lot of work. And then responding to emails from students on top of that is a lot of work. So yeah, try to find a good balance of giving them a lot of notice, but also not too far ahead of time because then like they'll forget about it because it's way, way, way in the future. But yeah, just make sure like you have some kind of good open communication with them. During the competition, try to encourage competitors to go talk to the sponsors. So I thought about this for a while with my competition, and it didn't make sense to have like a dedicated open time for them because they would end up just like talking to their own teams. But I think it was still good with like the lunch breaks and then the other small built-in breaks for them to talk to the sponsors. And ways to encourage them other than just like building time into the competition is doing sponsor tokens. So the way this manifests in ISTS is we'll have like purple team tokens, meaning if you like hack into another team's boxes and you got the token, you can redeem it for credit in the store. But the same thing kind of goes for if you talk to the sponsors, you can get a token from them, redeem it in the store, and then that benefits your score, or like, you know, it benefits you being able to buy more things in the store. And also, one of our sponsors has done a challenge for the past 2 years where they brought their own stuff, like on site, and competitors could like go do it. It was like an in-person CTF challenge, and it was really cool. And I love that idea, and I hope that we continue doing that. So that's that about sponsors. I'm still breathing into the mic. Team invitations. I don't really know why I made this a slide, so I just like put some things on there. The way we do invitations is just email. The way that teams find out about the competition is just, at this point, it's word of mouth. I was asked by someone like how we get our competitors, and honestly, I don't know, and I'm curious to find out about how we did that, like when we were starting out. My best answer to that, in my current knowledge, is that it started with just like more local schools and also more RIT teams. So if you're starting out a competition, that's probably the way to go. But for us, it's like we've been doing this for so many years and we have a lot of returning teams. At this point, it's like trying to balance the returning teams with new ones to get everyone experience, which is what I kind of did with qualifiers. And yeah, just like making sure that their point of contact is up to date. Hopefully they didn't graduate. Hopefully they didn't leave the school if they're like a coach. And then yeah, when you're inviting teams, just like send out a reminder, advertise in other places. Like I think I might have dropped the information about ICS in like the CCDC national server, the Discord server. And yeah, but if you're watching this, the 2027 interest form is open now, so go fill that out if you want to compete, if you're from a different school. Injects. I didn't put much on the slide. Involve the competition infrastructure and services. So not too much though, because you want to think about how many of the injects rely on the competition services. And if things are down, the blue teams won't be able to do those injects. And that is a major point of frustration that I've seen personally, and I've seen when running competitions. So that's definitely a big, big thing to keep in mind. But in general, injects should be balanced with like fun and useful. And let's think of an example. So a very basic one is doing an inventory of your infrastructure, usually at the beginning of the competition. And then other ones to throw in there, like I was very excited about an idea for an inject I had in my competition where we forced competitors to do like a verbal presentation about 60 seconds in length to get them to, I don't know, get better at their public speaking, because that's the thing you have to do in the real world. And yeah, I guess I skipped, but the second bullet point is just like saying what an inject is. It's a business task that's part of the theme or the scenario. And so again, when you have a really fun theme, you can have really fun injects because it'll be like, oh my god, your spaceship blew up, go do this thing. And it's just like, it's meant to simulate, it's meant to give you more stress, it's meant to simulate what it's like to be in a job and you're under attack and you have to like do instant response, but also your real job doesn't stop. And if your CEO sends you a little memo asking you to do something, you can't just say no, you have to do it. So that's injects. And also, shout out to Alex and my injects team for being flexible and switching out a lot of injects on the fly because, again, if like things are down, you want to be able to adapt. And that includes providing the best experience on the inject side for competitors as possible. That's injects. No, okay, what? Is there more? Yo, what is going on? Yo. All right, guys. I already said all this. Is this it? All right. Injects should be novel, so they should be interesting. They should be fun. Not too difficult, not too easy. Is there another one? That's a really good point. Thanks, Leah. How long does it take to do each inject? That's huge actually because that dictates like how far apart you're going to space them out. If you're going to have any overlapping ones that are released at the same time, do at the same time, or like do at different times, release at the same time, that kind of thing. So yeah, again, the point is you're trying to overload the competitors a little bit, but not too much. It's a fine line to walk. And the best thing you can do here is just like look at other competitions for examples, or think about if you competed in a competition, how did you feel about like the pace of the injects, the difficulty of them, how many were spread out between the 2 days if it was a multi-day competition, things like that. That's it for this slide. I was wondering why there was so little bit on it. The packet. So, again, this is in phase 2 when you're locking in the fall semester. You're going to be working on the packet slowly but surely. And the packet has all of the information about the competition. Most importantly, the theme and topology reveal for the blue teams because this is how they can prepare for the competition in advance. Otherwise, they're just like flying blind, and you don't want to do that to them, especially if you have difficult services or a topology. Very important thing in the packet are the rules of the competition. Again, for rules, you can look at like national CCDC's rules, you can look at the ISTS rules. It's just like, my one thing about rules is if you think it's common sense, still put it in the rules. And be specific. The lore, again, super fun part of it, kind of tough depending on how creative you are. Please just like don't write all your lore with ChatGPT because it sounds cringe. And then services competitors need to access. So this is like information about like Scorify, which is a scoring engine, the store, what else? And just like explanations of the competition, including the CTF, the King of the Hill, how things are scored. Like, is your score 50%, I don't know, up to black team and then 50% uptime? Like, think about that. So yeah, the packet is very important. It also helps you organize your thoughts about what the competition, like how it's shaping up to look. If you're missing anything, if there are any glaring mistakes that you might notice after putting together the packet, that's that. Try not to take too long. Food decorations, shirts. Try to get an as accurate as possible count of attendees, and this is difficult because, yeah, I have some nice pictures. The biggest thing is food. Just like get a lot of food. It's better to end up with leftovers than to have hungry competitors, so get enough food. But when you're getting food, consider dietary restrictions, the yumminess factor of the food. And then for shirts and stuff, shirt quality, that was a big thing for me. I like changed up the material of the shirts. Thanks to Ariana for finding out one of the good shirt styles. And I use them for all the teams, all the participants. So they're just like really nice shirts because you want people to wear the shirts after they leave the competition. So like, in my opinion, don't get like a bright red shirt for red team, get like a dark red. I like that. Like I would personally wear like a darker red than a bright red. That's why I don't wear my red team hoodie. And then the dark blue, again, like a dark blue shirt versus a bright blue shirt, stuff like that. But it doesn't matter, like big picture, as long as you can differentiate competitors and people participating in the competition while you're here, because that's the whole point. It's like, if you see someone walking around in like a gray shirt, what team are they on? I don't know. So just be able to easily identify like blue teamers and red teamers is the main thing. White team wears white shirts, black team wears black shirts, obviously, stuff like that. When you think about decorations, I just keep bringing this to the mic. Think about decorations not getting in the way. For example, I found these really nice, like, cool tablecloths that had like a space background and stars and stuff. We put them out on all the tables when we were setting up. We then started putting all the PCs and the peripherals and everything. And then, when we were testing the PCs, we realized the mouses do not work on a plastic tablecloth. So then we had to like roll them up, and it worked out. We still kept the tablecloths because I think they look really good. But I guess if you get tablecloths in the future, make them like cloth, or get mouse pads for each one, which I did consider for like 5 minutes. I started looking up where to buy 90 mouse pads. It didn't work out. Staples was closing. And so that's decorations. That's a picture of like we had streamers on 2 of the doors out of the 3 so that the third one wouldn't be annoying to walk through. And cost overall, don't spend too much on decorations, but like I bought this tent, low-key worth it. It just like sat there during the comp, I don't know. And then I've got a picture of all the orange juice we bought, because again, gotta treat the people. We got orange juice, we got coffee, everything, something for everyone. And when you're thinking about food in general, like I got Chipotle for one of the days. I think it's yummy. It also caters to a lot of dietary restrictions, which is really nice, including like if you are vegan or vegetarian or even gluten-free. So that was great. And then Panera was the second day because I like Panera and I think it's yummy. So that's food, shirts, and decorations. Publicity. Wow. Yeah, hold on. You just wait for it. Hold on. This is really bad. This is actually really bad. The lag is crazy. Did it switch over yet? I guess I'm just going to talk about it. Let me know. Okay. Publicity. Oh. Let's go. Okay, so do you want to get on the news? We got on the news for ICS 2025 for like 5 seconds. It was really cool. Do you want an article written about you? If you look at like CPTC has articles on the rit.edu website. Instagram and LinkedIn are huge. We have RITSEC Instagram. We have a RITSEC LinkedIn. Guess what we did? We posted about it. What I really wanted to do and what we did is we had like live posting throughout the weekend about ISTS, which is something I find really cool because it lets people like see what's going on and not just like the post pictures afterwards. But for the LinkedIn Warriors, hold on. For the LinkedIn Warriors, yeah, you've got like the nice post picture. That's a really big one. Everyone posts that one. Just pictures of like the big events happening throughout the weekend. Because as you see, 33 reposts just on the RITSEC one. So it's really nice to get a lot of publicity on this, a lot of eyes on it. Not just to advertise to other schools and like possible future competitors, but also to allow alumni to see what we're up to and other people in the industry to see like what a great thing cybersecurity competitions are. I feel really strongly about this. I think that they are very, very integral to the education of students outside of the classroom. And an easy way to demonstrate this to people in industry is to just show them with pictures. So yeah, and also people like talking about themselves. Like if they win, we want some nice photos of the like podium people, and also just pictures of their teams, stuff like that. You want to remember the weekend. So yeah, social media is very important, and eventually update the RITSEC and ISTS websites as well. Now, we're almost there, guys. What to do on the days of the competition. This isn't gonna work. Oh, okay. First of all, you gotta interface with the teams. As the competition architect, you have to be able to just like let go and let everyone else do their job that they were preparing for this whole time. And your job is to just watch them do it and not like go and lock in on one thing because you're gonna miss the whole competition if you do that. So interfacing with the teams is like going around and just like saying hi to all of them during the keynote, going around and saying hi to them during lunch, during the competition, stuff like that. Just like checking in on them. You can make rounds as like a white teamer and just see if people are having problems, but don't get bogged down with very specific things that other people can take care of. Talk to the sponsors. They're here. They're enjoying the competition, but they might not get a lot of engagement when there's hands-on time because everyone else is busy. So I think it's very important to talk to the sponsors and make sure they're having a good time and just like, I don't know, learn about them as people. Like they want to learn about you. And it's also important to get that feedback from them, like face to face, and see what they're liking about the competition, if they're not liking anything, stuff like that. So important to talk to our sponsors. Make sure the leads are alive. I don't know, just like yell at your leads to like go to sleep and eat during the competition. That's a big one, guys. Sleeping and eating. It's very important. Make announcements like, hands-on, hands-off time. I don't know, rule changes if there are any, stuff like that. Just like be the face of the competition. That's your job. Do that. Why am I pacing back and forth, bro? Keep track of food. Meaning, if there are, what does this mean? What do I mean by this? I guess keep track of like if there are dietary restrictions and you need to order separate meals on the day of. You should be keeping track of that. And also, like, if we're running out of certain foods, maybe go buy more snacks. Day to day, if we need more energy drinks for the black team, or I don't know, more like coffee or yogurt on the second day, or more bagels or whatever it is. Keep that in mind, and also have someone like keep track of who's picking it up so that the food actually gets here if it's not being delivered. So like delegate that to someone on e-board, stuff like that. Do I have any more? No. Okay. After the competition, we made it, guys. Here's what we do after, and now it's gonna take forever to transition for some reason. Administrative. Immediately following the competition, you want to first of all say thank you to everyone. Meaning, for me, it looked like just like giving thank you notes to the sponsors, sending little like thank you announcements to everyone. Eventually, release the photos. Again, photos super important. Release those to everyone so they can actually post things. Meaning, post on RidSec LinkedIn. I guess you don't have to do that as the CA, but I did that, I think. And then hold your black team leads debrief. This is a screenshot of like what I wrote at the head of it, and then after we were done, I wrote down it took 2 hours and 20 minutes to talk through the whole thing. But this is really important because all of this will be lost. All of your lessons learned, all of your experiences, everything that went right, everything that went wrong, you need to write that down because that's how you improve year to year, especially if you're losing people from year to year, meaning they're graduating. We're not losing them. And so, yeah, debriefing is very, very important. I guess like do this no matter, like if you're on a blue team, also debrief is super important. And then release the team's scoring breakdowns. So this is a very big, important part of competitions, in my opinion, again, because how are the blue teams gonna improve if they don't know what they did wrong or what they did right? What I did is I posted the ranking of all the teams. Obviously, everyone knows who first, second, and third place are, but then eventually I just put out everyone else's without their actual like scores. And then in their team channels, I sent them the scoring breakdown of like if they had any point loss, if they had like what they got on injects, what they got on the CTF, what they got in the game, what they got in Koth, what they got for uptime, all of it, so they would have transparency into what like how they did in the competition. Because sometimes you don't know. So that's what you do immediately after. Don't lose steam. Don't become sleepy yet. And then tear down. That involves like a little bit more technical stuff, like backing up the scoring data and then bringing down the scoring engine, shutting down all the in-scope instances, cleaning up the projects on OpenStack, and also something that I still have to do is inventory the hardware because you want to keep track of like which PCs were acting up during the competition. Kind of like, I don't know, decide what you want to do with them, like if you want to fix them or get rid of them. Other stuff like that, make sure you got all your monitors back, all your peripherals, everything like that, made it back into storage. Just like basic stuff. And then documentation. Unfortunately, you can't just have it all up here. Not everything can live in the dome, so you have to do, ideally, you'd update the Black Team Wiki, but more importantly, the eBoard Survival Guide, because this is used for other people who want to be CAs. For a while, I had the Survival Guide open like as a permanent tab in my browser for like a few months in the beginning. And yeah, you want to add to it eventually, build on what other CAs learned and what you learn from your own competition. Documentation is super duper important. I'm the kind of person that forgets everything. Finally, my reflection on all of this. Management strategies. Have a master planning sheet. And what I mean by that is I just had a Google Doc with everything about the competition, everything at all. Like from my brainstorming, like my original ideas, everything, don't delete anything from it. Just like have your thought process, have all your ideas, like I had prize ideas in there, I had like my topology that I eventually built, everything, all your ideas about the competition, in my opinion, should live in one sheet so you don't lose track of all these things and having them in different places. But stay organized at the same time and have all the final stuff in like different folders. Like I had like, you know, the black team form and like the black team shirts and stuff in one black team folder, stuff like that. Have a budget spreadsheet. Do not procrastinate purchases and also doing the receipts for those purchases. This is just a very important thing on eBoard in general, but keep track of your money. And communicate with the treasurers. I said this in the beginning, but yeah, make sure to do that. use a personal CA timeline in a black team timeline, do this ahead of time, meaning, again, we got phase one, think back to phase one, we're planning, we're only planning. We have nothing else to do, we're planning. What you do in that is you plan every single detail. Literally anything that you would check a box on, like order the flag, that would be an item on that list, and put the date that you would want to do that by or do that on in that timeline. And that's what works for me. I don't know if this is like good advice for everyone, but you're not gonna have time during when everything's busy and when you personally are busy with like school because we're students. You won't have time to think about like keeping track of deadlines and stuff unless you think of those ahead of time and have like a general thing of like, I have to have this batch of stuff done by here, I have to do this next week, whatever, like week by week, month by month, whatever you want, like day by day even. Some of the things I had like very granular, like I want this done on this day. Some of it was like I should do this within this week. And then make sure everyone takes care of themselves. Kind of mentioned that previously, but take care of your black team, take care of your white team. And I didn't put this on here, but I should have. Consider taking a lighter course load because it's really a big job to run ISTS and run competitions, and like maybe don't take over 18 credits. Leadership resources. This is very interesting. So this is a picture from my ISTS. A team brought The Art of War, but low-key, they're valid for that. Take inspiration from people you look up to. So that could be mentors, that could be managers from co-op, upperclassmen, alumni. Those could overlap, all those things. Someone could be your mentor, whatever. Look at what people do right, what you like, how they do things, how they lead maybe, and emulate that or ask them how they do that or how they got to that or why they do that. The Art of War, no, seriously, like it's a good book, read it. And then these 4 people, Dick Winters was a U.S. Army officer who served during World War II. If you know Band of Brothers, it's about him and other people. And he has like leadership things and like about like leading and succeeding. Simon Sinek, I think that's how you say his name. He wrote Leaders Eat Last, and it's about fostering trust and cooperation. And it's because like, I think the concept was like someone, again, in the army, they would like let the junior officers eat before the senior ones. And it's just about like building a circle of safety that allows people to like trust their teams and build the trust within a team. What else we got? Steve Jobs, read Steve Jobs' book. That's like a very basic one, but good stuff about like leadership and ideas and creativity and a lot of like useful things. And then John Wooden also wrote books. I think he wrote Pyramid of Success and other things, and he was a basketball coach and player, but it's also about success and leadership. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about actually referencing and like learning about how to lead. They just kind of figure it out. And I think it's really interesting to see what other people do, not just like around you, but people that you've never met that also can be from like basketball, like sports or army or other things like founding Apple. Those are all very like broad things and very large successes that these people had, but that's why they have really good lessons for you to learn from. And of course, my advice, how to succeed. Know what you want. Have a clear vision at all times. This is huge. This is kind of like stemming from my thing of like, make the timeline, stick to it, because you are the one keeping this on track and you are the one having this succeed, and this is all based on your vision. So you have to be clear with what you want. And because, like, you know, lead everyone else. This is why they're doing it. They're doing it because you said it has to be this way. So have reasons for why you do things and be open to hearing from other people. Play to your strengths, meaning like if you're not creative with host names or users, have people help you, or like look up inspiration, or like it doesn't have to all come from your brain. You have to have sources of inspiration and like things to look at. And that's like a very specific example, but whatever your strengths are, just like use them. That kind of goes for anything. Emails. I wrote this down because you have to send a lot of emails, low-key, and you have to get good at responding to them and being organized in your inbox. If you're not, that's just like a thing that I thought of that I think is important. Stay organized. I'm not going to say much to that. I've been kind of saying that already. Decision fatigue. Get outside opinions and delegate. It's not meant for one person to do all of it, which is why we have a giant black team and lots of black team leads and stuff like that, and other e-board members. So again, this is literally all based on your vision of the competition, and you have to decide every little thing in the competition. So some things are more important than others. Some decisions are like have more weight to them than others. So keep that in mind. You're gonna have to make a lot of decisions in a short amount of time, and you're gonna have to, you know, like deal with it. So yeah, what I said up there, do that. Have fun with it. You have to have fun. If you're not doing this because you love it, I don't know why you're doing it. You have to enjoy competitions. You have to enjoy leading. You have to enjoy planning. Everything that goes into everything I talked about in this presentation. It's like it was like the most fun thing I've ever done. And I don't know what else to say about that. Like, know why you're doing it. That kind of goes with the first one and the last one. I like running competitions because I want other people to have fun. I want other people to learn from it, and I love the community that it creates that allows other people to learn. That's kind of like the short answer for why I had fun with ISTS. And yeah, any questions? All right, thank you guys. I hope that was informative.